Good day, everyone. So, for today's lesson, we will be talking about one of Ernest Hemingway's story. But before that, let's meet first Ernest Hemingway. So, who is Ernest Hemingway and what are his famous works? And this is Ernest Hemingway. Okay, so he is one of the greatest American 20th century novelists and a 1954 Nobel Prize winner. He was born in Illinois on July 21, 1899. He wrote his novel, The Old Man and the Sea, which won the 1953 Pulitzer Prize. Ernest also served in World War I and worked as a journalist before publishing his story collection In Our Time. So the other novels he was renowned for are The Sun Also Rises, A Farewell to Arms, and For Whom the Bell Tolls. So he spent a great deal of his time with his family in their Michigan cabin, and it was there that he developed his sportsman's skills. Okay, so he likes hunting and fishing. So that is Ernest Hemingway. So now let us read the story written by Ernest Hemingway, A Day's Wait. So have you read the story with an intriguing title? In this lesson, we are going to find out the features of this story that make it unique or different from other stories that you have read already. And here is the summary of the story. So the father of a 9-year-old boy nicknamed Such notices one morning that his son seems ill. So he urges the boy to go back to bed, but the boy denies that he is sick until his father feels his forehead and confirms that he has fever. So the doctor comes to examine the boy. He takes the boy's temperature and tells them that the boy has a fever of 102 degrees. And downstairs, the doctor gives medicine to the boy's father and diagnoses him with mild influenza, which he says isn't dangerous as long as the fever stays below 104 degrees. Okay, so when the doctor leaves, the father reads a book about pirates to his son and noticed that his son is very pale and inattentive. Eventually, the boy tells his father that he doesn't have to stay in the room with him. His father denies this, but the boy only repeats himself. No, I mean, you don't have to stay if it's going to bother you. Reasoning that his son must be feeling a bit lightheaded, the father gives him more medicine and leaves him alone to rest. So the father heads outside with his dog to hunt quail. So the landscape is entirely coated with frozen sleet. When the father returns home, he learns that the boy hasn't allowed anyone to come into his room, insisting that no one else must catch his fever. So the father goes in anyway and takes his temperature again. It's 102.4 degrees. So the boy asked about his temperature and his father says it's nothing to worry about. The boy admits that he can't help thinking about it. So his father assures him that he doesn't have to worry. But the boy insists or still seems to be preoccupied. Suddenly, the boy asks his father what time he is going to die. The father is startled and reassures him that he isn't going to die. The boy replies that he heard the doctor said his temperature was 102 degrees, and he learned from his classmates and friends that a fever over 44 degrees is deadly. So the father realizes that his son has spent the whole day waiting to die. So father explained to Zach that France and America use different thermometers and units of temperature, just like they use different units of distance, like miles and kilometers. So the boy simply says, "Oh," but his body, or rather whole body, relaxes. So the story ends with the father noting that the boy or such had loosened his hold over himself so much that he cried very easily at the things that are not important. So that's the end of the story. And for your ILT, so please read your book, pages 192 to 196, for you to understand the story well. All right. So next we have the second part of our lesson for today. So the adverb clauses and adverbial phrases. So I know you are very familiar with adverb, okay? So just a very quick review. So what is an adverb? It is a word that modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And what are we going to study today is adverbial phrases and clauses. So it tells us when, where, how, and why an action occurs. Okay, so let's talk first adverbial phrase. So she sat on the broomstick. So on the broomstick is an example of adverbial phrase. So it tells us where she sat. So phrase because it has no subject and verb. All right, so let's have adverbial clause. He came when the moon appeared. So here, when the moon appeared is an adverbial clause. So it tells us when he came. All right, so our subject here is moon and our verb is appeared. So it is clause because it has a subject and a verb. So that is adverbial clause. And by the way, adverbial clause always start with subordinating conjunction. So we have here when. All right. Now let's have some examples. So first, the game will take place tomorrow. So here, tomorrow is a one-word adverb that answers the question when. So it is an adverb of time. Okay. So next we have the game will take place in the morning. So here, in the morning is an example of adverbial phrase. So phrase because it does not contain a subject and a verb. And next we have the game will take place when both teams are ready. So here, when both teams are ready is an example of adverbial clause. So it contains a subject, both teams, and a verb are. Okay? So another example of adverbial clause. When the meeting is over, we're going to Philippine Arena. So our adverbial clause here is when the meeting is over. Okay, next we have we did not watch the movie because he had a headache. Okay, so here our adverbial clause is because he had a headache. So that is adverbial clause. Okay, so moving on, let's have the two types of adverbial phrase. So we have the prepositional phrase and infinitive phrase. Okay, so let's differentiate these two phrases. So first, prepositional phrase. So it is a group of words that consist a preposition, the object of preposition, and any modifiers. So like for example, we have here the genie from the brass lamp granted 3 wishes. So here, the phrase from the brass lamp is an example of prepositional phrase because it starts with from. Okay, from is a preposition and the brass is a modifier and object of preposition is lamp. Okay, so from the brass of, or rather from the brass lamp describe genie. Okay, so that is an example of prepositional phrase. And next example we have Carly went to Dr. Tolentino's clinic. So here our prepositional phrase is to Dr. Tolentino's clinic and our preposition is to. Okay, next we have he was standing in the corner. So here our prepositional phrase is in the corner. Okay, and our preposition is in. All right, next, a singer with passion. So with passion is an example of prepositional phrase. Near London. Okay, so keep in time. So in time, okay, and he acts without thinking. So without thinking is an example of prepositional phrase. Now we have infinitive phrase. So the infinitive form of a verb plus any complements and modifiers. So here, the infinitive form of the verb is to plus the verb. Okay, so like for example, we have here, I want to bury the treasure quickly. So here, to bury is an example of infinitive form. Okay, and to bury the treasure quickly is an example of infinitive phrase. Okay, so here, the treasure quickly, or rather the treasure is complement or the direct object, and quickly is the modifier. Okay, so to bury the treasure quickly is an example of infinitive phrase. And here are another set of examples. So he likes to knead the dough slowly. And our infinitive phrase is to knead the dough slowly. To knead is the infinitive verb. Dough is the complement or the direct object. And slowly is the modifier. Okay. Next we have he helped to build the roof. To build the roof is our infinitive phrase, wherein to build is the infinitive verb. And next we have the officer returned to help the inspectors. To help the inspectors is an example of infinitive phrase. And that is all for today. So again, this is Teacher Mitch, your English teacher. So bye everyone. Have a nice day.